It's Florida Fish 100 here in my conference room looking at my 150-gallon tank. One of the things I want to talk about here is some of the things I run into on Craigslist, maybe some advice in doing that. Folks moving are the most common reason for people selling. In my particular case, this tank was with a guy that was going to the Navy, so he had to get rid of it. And consequently, much of what he had to sell, he bought from Craigslist. So it seems to be a good way to get into the hobby without spending a whole lot of money. But some of the issues you might want to look for are the top bracing. I think that's one of the best lessons that I could give you would be the top brace. I bought a tank, it was my 120, that had a top brace issue, and the picture that I saw of the tank had half the water in it, so it was only filled up halfway. He said it held water, which it did, but he didn't say that it held 120 gallons of water. He obviously didn't want to fill the tank up completely with water because it probably would have damaged the top brace even more than what it was already damaged. And so I didn't know any better at the time, and I didn't think the crack on the brace was that big of a deal. Obviously, when I put water to the brim on the tank, the cracks propagated, and I had potentially catastrophic failure on my hand. So obviously I had to do something. So I took the brace off and ended up doing a Euro brace, which cost me quite a bit of money, even though I did it myself. So that's why it's very important to kind of ask the right kind of questions in regard to braces. This last tank that somebody gave me actually was a saltwater tank, and the gentleman used a metal halide light, and it actually produced so much UV that it damaged the plastic. And so as soon as I filled it up with water, it broke within a day. And that was a situation where I didn't realize that greater UV exposure like that from a metal halide aquarium lamp would actually degrade the plastic to a point where it would break it. So that's a situation where somebody gave me the tank, so it's not that big of a deal. The other tank I actually paid really good money for. Had to pay even more money to fix the brace. So just be on the lookout for that. I've tried to negotiate with sellers before online. It's just very difficult. Most want top dollar for their stuff, even though it's used, which I don't really understand. But so try to work with them best you can. I try to be polite, but at the same time, I don't try to go back and forth with them too much. If they want to sell it for a certain price, they'll be flexible. If not, then they won't. There's lots of tanks out there. There's glass hoods. There's really cheap aquarium lighting, fluorescent lighting. You don't see a lot of LEDs for sale, is what I've been finding. And you see some heaters and things like that. Not a whole lot of filters, to be honest with you. Some people are just completely unrealistic with the price. So you just have to be realistic as well, and just know that, hey, look, if you can't buy this from somebody, that you can just go out and buy it new, or you'll buy it from Amazon, or wait for the right situation to come up. And that's why I'm saying, when you buy a setup, like I bought a setup once, and I didn't need a stand, but he had the tank and the glass lid, which I did need, and ended up picking up the stand and using it for something else. So I mean, by all means, be flexible with it. Sometimes people just want to get the whole thing out of their house, and it gives them a better chance to dump it to one person than to get somebody else out there. In buying fish, I've got a number of fish places close by that I buy fish from, and even the big box stores like Petland, they have a free fish Tuesdays, I think, sometimes, and various days during the week where you buy a fish for so much money, you'll get another fish under a certain value for free. That's a great way to build your collection of fish. Yeah, you probably don't get the highest grade fish, but if you're running an American tank, most cichlids are under $10 anyway. So, if and that's what helps when you're building a African. Let's say you're building an African tank like this one. You buy an African fish, and then you get American fish for free, and you stick your American in your American tank. And that's one of the benefits of having multiple tanks going is that it doesn't really necessarily cost you that much if you play it smart. I think sometimes with PetSmart they have like a red tag sale, and they'll have filters and so forth like 50% off. And I don't think they advertise it all the time. So that's an opportunity. So, you could go to a big box and really make out on filters. For instance, the marine land that I have on this tank, I actually got for half price, and I bought two of them. And actually they didn't have two at the store, so I had to go to two different PetSmarts to get the filter at the same price, and I was out of town. But I took advantage of the situation. It was a no tax weekend as well, so I took advantage of that. So anyway, those are opportunities that you might want to consider. Sometimes, like Petco and so forth will have unusual items. Like for this 150, it was very hard for me to find a suitable lid, glass tops. And so I went to Petco, and they had glass tops for 40-gallon breeders. And that fit this tank perfectly. So, the type of situation there, opportunistic buying will help you fit your aquarium. And also, at some of the big stores, like Petland, for instance, they have some big tanks where they have like maybe some miscellaneous imbunas, and sometimes you can actually find peacocks in it. In fact, I found a Lake Victorian hap one time in one of these imbuna tanks, and it was pretty easy to pick her out of a crowd. She was quite a bit different and had sort of a unique personality compared to all the imbunas. So, look for those opportunities. Sometimes there are hybrids between imbunas and peacocks in such a tank, and I've gotten some of those fish for free. So try to do that. In Craigslist and so forth, I actually got two tanks completely free from Craigslist. This particular one I purchased, and another one, the 120 I purchased, but I got a 180 that just somebody gave me. I got another tank from a saltwater friend. It was a smaller tank. It was a 55, but he just gave me the equipment, and he had just a ton of equipment. Some of which you're looking at there. That's an aqua mover, a water mover. It's an oscillating one. And so look for those kinds of opportunities to fit yourself up for free tanks and free equipment and things like that. Doesn't happen all the time, but be on the lookout. Just be careful when you're evaluating equipment. A lot of times, it may not be working, and they're trying to sell it as if it is working. Most people will try to make it work for you when you're there. Others won't, just want you to pick it up. So, do your due diligence on that. And with that, I'll go ahead and sign off. Thank you. Rate, subscribe, comment as you wish. Talk to you later. See ya.